Sam, can you hear me okay?
Can hear you just fine. Just fine.
Fantastic. I wasn't sure.
Folks, this is Fred, and Fred is the waterman. He's the mineral man, I guess you could call him. And Fred exhaustively has helped numerous people with numerous ailments. And understand on this call, and I got to do a little disclaimer here, is that we are not saying anything about certain words, and I think all of you are aware of that, okay? We're not saying anything about certain words. And any of the statements that we make have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. And any of these items, solutions, formulas, anything, any products are not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. So we get that out of the way so everybody understands what that's about. So, and Fred has tirelessly, he has been on different calls. He has dedicated his life graciously by Creator to come on the call tonight and to share with everybody his story of the minerals. He is the one, he's behind the minerals. He is the one that can get you the minerals. He's the one that can talk with you about different ailments you may have. He has protocols that he can suggest for you. So it's not like you're talking to Crazy Louie the salesman. So, this is, you'll be talking to the horse's mouth. So, Fred, if you would be so kind as to share with everybody who you are and what your story, what you share with with the audience.
I'll be most happy to do that. Thank you, Jared, for inviting me on the call. I feel so privileged and humbled to be able to share this wondrous story with so many people around the world. My story actually started back in 2011. I was 65 years old back then, and I was crippled. I had arthritis throughout my body. I was in pain on prescription pain meds. I could no longer make a fist. I couldn't sign my name, couldn't hold a pen or pencil. I couldn't raise my arms even shoulder high. The arthritis was so strong in my shoulder area. My hips were so full of arthritis that I had to push myself to change position, whether it's laying in bed. I had to push myself to my side, push myself up to a sitting position, and then push myself up to a semi-standing position before I could take any steps at all. And I was in this shape for quite a while. And it was at that time in my life when I was 65, which is over 7 years ago now, I had been retired now. I was an international executive. I was in charge of computers all around the world, and so I've done a lot of traveling and so on. But I subscribed to some financial newsletters and so on, and I was reading one on the computer one day, and on the side, on the right-hand side, there was this little ad that popped up that said, if you would like to learn how to purify the most polluted water in the world, click here and sign up for this water webinar that's going to be taking place. And in my property, I have about 27 and a half acres of property, and a river runs right through my property, and I thought, it would be nice to know how to purify that water, because years before I took my 3 sons on a camping trip out in Colorado, and they wanted to drink out of this crystal clear river, and I said, well, it looks good. Okay, go ahead. But they got Montezuma's revenge really, really bad. So I never let them do that anymore. And I thought, well, it would be nice to know how to purify that water. Well, I got on that webinar, and on that webinar I learned some amazing things about how to purify the most polluted forms of water. And also on that webinar, I heard people mention that by drinking this mineral water that you make yourself, you just take whatever water, whether it's your tap water, purified water, distilled water, bottled water, and add these minerals to it, then you can purify that water, mineralize that water, and actually restructure that water, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. But they said that by drinking this structured water from these minerals, that many of them received tremendous help with their arthritis. And I thought, oh, my, what would I pay to do that? So anyway, I decided, well, why not? So I ordered some of the minerals right there that night. And when they came, I'll just share this a little bit. When they came, I actually hid them in the back of my desk drawer because my wife is an RN. You know, she works with the medical doctors, and I didn't want her making fun of me for falling for some scam on the Internet. So I started drinking this mineral water. I started adding the minerals to my water secretively, and I became what I kiddingly call now a closet drinker of this mineral water. But on my third day, all of the pain in my hands was completely gone. I could make a fist. I could hold a pen or pencil, could sign my name again. Hadn't been able to do that in a long time. I had to buy one of these stamps that you could stamp your signature. And on my third day, that was all gone and cleared up. On my fourth day, I could raise my arms above my shoulder. I could wash my back again with a washcloth. It was amazing. No pain in my shoulder area or now my hands or arms or elbows. On my fifth morning when I woke up, I realized when I opened my eyes, I don't have a single pain anywhere in my body. And like I said earlier, I used to have to push myself up to my side, then push myself to a sitting position, push myself to a standing position, get balanced, take 4 or 5 steps before I could even stand up straight. That morning, my fifth morning, I popped out of bed. I didn't push myself. I just popped out of bed, and I started hopping all over my room, twisting my body every which way to see if there's any pain. There has not been. This was 7 years ago. And thankfully, I've enjoyed 7 years of wonderful, wonderful health. That's how I got started on these minerals. And I was so taken with these minerals and what they did for me, I started passing them out to my friends. And I could tell you hundreds of stories because it's been 7 years and I have done nothing else than to promote these minerals. I was so thankful for what they have done for me. And I can tell you all kinds of situations where people have received tremendous benefit. Let me just stop right there and give you a little history of these minerals. These minerals were actually discovered by an atomic scientist that was given the task of finding a way to purify the waters around Hiroshima and Nagasaki from all the radiation that took place when World War II ended and the atomic bombs were dropped. And it was during that search for that, he came across, and I won't go through the whole story because I've only got about 15 minutes, he came across these minerals, and it's a miraculous story on how he came across them. But anyway, he took them back to his laboratory and analyzed them and found that, lo and behold, these minerals added to the water that had the atomic isotopes in them, it removed those atomic isotopes. And so he was able to complete his task there in Japan for Hiroshima and Nagasaki people. And then when Chernobyl took place in Russia, he was called over there by the Russian government, and he did the same thing around Chernobyl and cleaned up the waters there as well. The Russian government loved him so much they offered him $400 million for the exclusive rights to these minerals and the patents that he had developed for the machinery that it takes to make them and so on. And they come from the earth. They're all natural, 100% natural. And he just was able to discover that. And so he refused them because he said, no, my God that I worship, that I revere, showed these to me and told me that it was a gift to all mankind and that it should not be exclusively owned by any person. They should be made available to the whole world. And so he turned down the $400 million offer. Other countries offered him in the hundreds of millions as well, and he always turned them down. Now, there's quite a story how they came to the United States, and I won't go into all that right now. But anyway, they did, and when they got here to the United States, there was one person that got a hold of them, and he took them home and decided to try them. His wife was nursing a young daughter, and the daughter was, the baby was very, very colicky and crying all the time. And the mother, she had very, in the nursing, her breasts were very, very sore and couldn't do much to relieve them. But anyway, so on the very first day that they drank, now just the mother drank the minerals, and that next day her breasts were no longer hurting at all, and that the mineral got through the milk, the mother's milk, into the baby, and the baby stopped being colicky. And when this happened in one day, they thought, wow, hey, this is really something. So they contacted the person that gave it to them in the first place from Japan, and they made arrangements that they would help promote these, and then they started promoting them all over the place. And it was during that time that one of their distributors put on this webinar that I attended, and I bought some. And so let me give a little bit of science behind it. I won't go into a whole lot of detail, but let me just put it simply, if I can. When you add these minerals to water, any kind of water, we've even purified into crystal clear, pure drinking water the actual sewage water in Mexico City. This is before it enters the plant. So you have to scrape off all the stuff floating and so on, get that brown water, and we can purify that into crystal clear, pure drinking water just by adding the minerals. And so what happens when you put these minerals in water, it actually turns the water into what we call structured water or hexagonal water, and some people call it living water. Because what takes place is water is made up of H2O molecules hooked together in long strings or in big clusters. There could be 32 H2O molecules in one big cluster. And when these minerals are added to the water, those large clusters are broken down. They're separated into small little hexagonal-shaped, six-sided H2O molecules that are hooked together in like a ring. And during that process, what happens is that the impurities, the liquefied lead and mercury and arsenic and all hundreds of industrial chemicals and are then released from the clutches of those molecule structures, and now they're out, and they actually start to go because of the chemical reaction that's taking place because of these minerals, and the oxygen that is now put in the water is created by this action. And so what happens is that those liquefied impurities, toxins, poisons, are then brought back into a solid state. It's called agglutination. They start to agglutinate into teeny tiny little specks, and then they start to attract each other, and they flocculate together. So that's flocculation is the second stage that takes place. And then during that time of flocculation, they become bigger and bigger, kind of like the hailstones, in the storms where they get bigger and bigger, and then too heavy, they fall to the earth. Well, these then also, there's a chemical reaction that does take place because of the minerals in the water, the oxygenation, and so on, and they get burned up as they're falling to the bottom of the container because they're heavier than the water. And so what actually happens is they turn into ashes and yellowish, orangey, brownish ashes that fall to the bottom of the container. If you had a gallon container and you put some of these minerals in, then you could actually see the water start to swirl, and the agglutination, flocculation, and sedimentation take place. And what happens is these ashes fall to the bottom, and the bottom of the container is coated with these ashes. Now, this has been a complete chemical change to these toxins and poisons so that they are no longer able to change back into a harmful state. They are now completely inert. And if you were to swallow these ashes, which I did, I'll tell you about that, they would just simply pass through your body, and they would no longer be harmful to you as the original toxin that they were made from. So now
they become inert. They become inert, Fred?
Yes, they are completely inert. These ashes are completely inert, and they're just teeny tiny little floating specks, and they do fall and kind of cover the bottom of the container. When I first got my minerals, I watched them do that, and I just drank. And it could take a little while. It could take several hours for that process to complete, and you'll see the bottoms coat. But then, what a lot of people do is they just take and filter out that those ashes on the bottom. They just, we do have a filter that we can supply our people as well. That makes it into crystal clear, pure, very sweet, excellent tasting, thirst-quenching water that's totally awesome to drink. Now, with this structured water, remember the H2O molecules are hooked together in a hexagonal shape, like 6 of them. So you can imagine the body absorbing a little circle of 6 H2O molecules compared to, say, 32 or 64 molecules. It's been proven that this mineralized water will hydrate the body 2.5 to 4 times faster than unstructured water. So it really gets into the system very, very well. Now, the neat thing is, when you drink this structured water, the same thing can happen inside your body that happens outside the body. It can get into your cells and organs and so on 2.5 to 4 times faster, and it can get through that cell membrane quickly. And any toxins that have been built up inside the cells or organs, they encounter the mineral activity, and agglutination, flocculation, sedimentation starts to take place inside your body as well. And not only can they get in the cells 2.5 to 4 times faster, they can get back out carrying with it those ashes and the toxins, the impurities that have gotten into our system. And then the body uses its natural elimination processes to just get rid of them out of your body. Now, what happened to me and what has happened to many, many hundreds and hundreds of the people that I've worked with since in these last 7 years is totally amazing. In less than 5 days, because it was my 5th morning that I had absolutely none left. And it's been 7 years. I have lived a very blessed life in these last 7 years. And I'll just share with you some of the things that happen to people. And like Jared said, we cannot make any claims that these minerals will cure or prevent any disease or heal or, diagnose or anything like that. They do not do that. Let me explain why they don't do that and what is happening in the body that makes such miraculous changes. And that is, books have been written about disease and the causes of disease. And there's mainly 3 things that I talk about in what causes disease in the body. And that is, we live in an extremely polluted world. I mean, there are toxins in the air we breathe and the water that we drink and the food that we eat. We cannot escape all the toxins and poisons that are in this world that's in our environment. I mean, man has done it to ourselves. We've done it to ourselves. Now, in farming, for example, back in the 1940s, there were minerals in our soil. Today, there's hardly any minerals in there. They're all gone. One of the properties of minerals is to try to purify any kind of toxins or poisons or pollutants that's in contact with them in the soil. And at in the early 40s, there was not anywhere near the toxins in our world that there is now. And with the farmers doing all of the whether it's fertilization or putting the glyphosate or putting all kinds of toxins in our soil, the minerals in our soil got used up, and there aren't any left. We can't get any good trace minerals in our food anymore. So what happens is now man has to take supplements themselves. They got to find some source of minerals and vitamins and all that to try to supplement their body's needs. So anyway, the minerals in our soil got used up. Now, in our body, every gene in our body requires its own trace mineral to function and to work properly. And so what kind of minerals are we getting in our genes, in our body? They're not of high quality. These minerals that we use to make the structured water, they are the highest quality bioavailable ionic trace minerals. And the genes they just grab them right up in our bodies. And so the genes are better able to function and do their purpose. Also, these minerals serve as a catalyst to the enzymes in our body. The enzymes do a lot of things, like making the amino acids, all kinds of things that the enzymes do. And if they have these trace minerals as a catalyst, it helps them do their job much better, more completely, and so on. And then the third, so that's the minerals, okay? The second cause of disease and, health issues is caused by a buildup of toxins in our body, and our bodies are consuming toxins every day. You can't get around it, Even today, I breathe the air, and what in the world have those airplanes put out, and the chemtrails and all, there's just, our air is just full of toxins. The food we eat has been sprayed with all this stuff, or irradiated from coming in from other countries to, it's just terrible. And, what they spray on the fields and on the crops and so on, and I'm sure you've been following what's happened there with, with one of the big, large companies that makes this product that they spray on the plants so that they can kill the weeds but not the plant itself, and all this GMO stuff and so on. It's very, very difficult to completely get around all that. So our body starts to fill up with these toxins, and our cells start getting clogged up, and our organs, and there's no way for them to escape, to get out of there, until you drink this mineralized water, and it can hydrate the water. You feel very, very quenched when you're thirsty. You come in, you drink this mineral water. Oh, wow, how it does quench your thirst. You feel hydrated. It gives you energy. And it's oxygen. It puts oxygen in your water. It makes your body extremely capable of electrical current flowing through your body. It also can cross the blood-brain barrier as well. And so what happens is your body starts to detox as you drink this mineral water, and the body starts to gets rid of these toxins. Now, what happens when our body starts filling up with toxins? What happens to our immune system? Our immune system stops to function properly like it was designed to do originally. And if the immune system cannot function, it can't fight off the diseases. It can't fight off the illnesses that come. And so as more and more toxins come and build up, more and more health issues can develop. So with me, as you can kind of imagine, what causes arthritis and so on, and the buildup of calcium and so on in the joints, that was all cleared away, carried away. Pain was gone. So I started giving this to some of my friends. I gave it to my first friend who worked with me. He was an assistant treasurer. I didn't give you much background information from me, but I was in charge of computers all around the world for 21 years. And I designed a lot of worldwide computer systems and so on. But anyway, one of the guys was an assistant treasurer of one of the organizations that I was affiliated with. and he had sugar diabetes really bad. And when he pricked his finger, he was in the 600s. And I said, Harry, I don't know if this will help you. It certainly has helped me. Here, this is a 2-ounce bottle. Why don't you go ahead and try it? Just like, let's see if I'm getting them up this second here. I might be getting an instructional message here. Oh, okay. It was just a compliment. Thank you who sent that. But anyway, so I said, why don't you just try it? Mix it the same way. Just, what you do is you add 1 teaspoon of these minerals to a gallon of water and kind of shake it up, stir it around a little bit, and then you can drink it. And so he said, okay, I can do it. It won't hurt anything. And it makes the water taste good anyway. And so he started doing that. And the very next day, when he pricked his fingers, it was down to 190s. And the second day, it was 170s. The third day was 150s. The fourth day, 135. The fifth day was 115. The sixth day was 98. And the seventh day was 87. Now, the doctors always, they want him to be 100 or below. And in 1 week, he was down to 87. And I've asked him, he says he's still at 87. This is 7 years ago. Now, I can't promise that would happen for everybody. I don't know. I really don't know. But for him it did, and is he ever thankful for that? There's a whole story about the follow-up, the doctors, the miracle, and all that kind of stuff that they proclaimed and so on. He was the first person I gave it to. There was another lady that she went and had a pedicure, and they used this, a soapstone or something that they scrape the heel and get all the calluses off. They nicked her, very small nick. They didn't see it. She didn't see it. Went home, went to bed. Next morning, there's little spots of blood on her sheets. And she was an RN as well, a nurse. And she found it and cleaned it and then put triple antibiotic ointment on it, bandaged it up, and thought, well, this is what I would do for any of my patients. Well, before the end of that week, and she did it every day, and before the end of the week, her foot was infected, so she couldn't get rid of it. She went to the doctor, and he said, I wish you would have come to me earlier. You have staph infection. So he assigned her one of these 10-day antibiotics. It didn't work. Signed her a different one, another 10 days. Didn't work. Got worse. And now she had developed MRSA. Now she was in MRSA. He gave her a third one. Didn't work. And her foot, the cut was now getting bigger. It was a ½ inch, inch long, 2 inches long, 3 inches long, and went all the way to the bone. And that MRSA was just ravaging her body. And so they had her go to the hospital. They installed a PICC line in her chest. They hung 3 powerful IV bags full of the
antibiotics.
Yeah, the antibiotics. And anyway, it didn't work. So now she got the cut in March, and at the end of March, all of April was spent on the 10-day prescriptions, and then May, June, July, August, worse, and now they were going to amputate her foot. It was 7 inches long to the bone. She had to go to the hospital every day, 7 days a week, sit for 2 hours for the antibiotics to get into her system, and it still wasn't working. Now they were preparing the insurance company for amputation. I went to her, and I said, her name's Becky. I said, Becky, why don't you just try the protocol that I've learned with these minerals? She said, what, you mean natural health stuff? No. I'm a nurse. I'm an RN. I don't believe in that natural stuff. I said, well, Becky, what will it hurt to just try it? She says, well, I'm being treated by my doctors. And I said, yes, Becky, but look, you're going to have your foot amputated. Is that what you really want? She said, no, but I said, what have they done for you? There's nothing that they have done for you. Just try it. It's not going to hurt you. So she said, okay. So she did. And she went through the protocol that I told her to do, which is not hard. It's soaking that foot right in mineral water, okay? And then also drinking the mineral water, and then drinking also what I call a booster drink of the mineral water. That's it. Just 3 parts to this protocol. Very simple to do. So she did it the rest of that day. And she didn't soak it all day long. I just said soak it for half an hour, and just drink this mineral water that I'm going to mix up for you, and then just once a day, just drink this booster drink of the minerals. So the next morning when she woke up, she went to do what she does every morning to get ready to go to the hospital. She takes the bandage off her foot, removes the packing, because by now this cut was so large and wide that they had to pack it, and then clean out all the pus and the smell and all that stuff. And when she undid the bandage and she saw how the packing was now being forced out, she screamed. And her husband came running. He didn't know if her foot fell off. But anyway, she said, look, it's healed 40% overnight. And when she got to the hospital, she does it because she's a nurse and she's, a little bit embarrassed of all that. Because the nurses, they have to do the same thing when she gets there. They unpack it and repack it and clean it and so on. And when she got to the hospital and they tested her, her MRSA was gone. Her MRSA that they'd been fighting with these triple bags of antibiotics for several months and not getting anywhere with it was taken care of overnight. And like I say, it's not the minerals that healed her at all, but see, the human body was designed miraculously, and when you start getting rid of the toxins and the poisons, and you start hydrating your body, and you give your cells and your genes and enzymes the proper things that they need, and get rid of that stuff out of your body. So what happened for her is the immune system kicks back in, and that's what's happened for hundreds and hundreds of people. Their immune system kicks back in that has been hindered from all these toxins and poisons in their body. And so the very next week, she came to our meeting wearing normal shoes and socks. Now, she'd been coming to this organization for months wearing one of those big plastic boots and a crutch. The next week, in 7 days, she came in normal shoes and socks, completely healed. Okay, that was just one story. I can go many, many, many stories. Now, the atomic scientists that gave these. Now, Jared, stop me at any time. Stop me, say, well, that's enough, Fred.
Well, what I'll say is that I think you've covered really, and you've shared with everybody that, and I've said this too. Everybody's body's different, so, and I think everybody understands that. So, but when you're talking about the mineral, everybody should know this. With what Fred has been sharing, your mitochondria,
yes,
I'm sure some of you know what that is affected. Your stem cells are affected.
Yeah.
Okay? Your peptides, your enzymes are affected by this. The only way that lady's foot healed was because the body was put back in a balanced way chemically and naturally so that the immune system, like he said, was able to heal that damage to her foot.
She was put back into homeostasis. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Sam, can you hear me okay?
Can hear you just fine. Just fine.
Fantastic. I wasn't sure.
Folks, this is Fred, and Fred is the water man. He's the mineral man, I guess you could call him. And Fred exhaustively has helped numerous people with numerous ailments. And understand on this call, and I got to do a little disclaimer here, is that we are not saying anything about